Hello everyone, Grandma here. Grandpa was born on George Washington's birthday. Last year we celebrated by making Martha Washington candies. I will post a link to that video below. This year we are making Martha Washington's potato rolls. This is a very old recipe that is over 200 years old and goes all the way back to Martha Washington's time. It is another recipe from the Williamsburg Art of Cookery cookbook. The ingredients are 2 large potatoes peeled and cut into chunks. I'm using 3 potatoes because they're not that big, so I thought 3 potatoes will be better. 3/4 cup milk, 2 tablespoons sugar, 3 tablespoons unsalted butter, room temperature, 1 package active dry yeast, 2 1/4 teaspoons, 2 tablespoons vegetable oil, 6 to 7 cups all-purpose flour. The first thing we have to do is peel the potatoes and then cut the potatoes. Now, as you could see, these, I don't know why, but these potatoes aren't the best because I see like brown spots, which I'm going to have to cut out. Maybe I'm even going to have to take another potato to use. Instead of using 3, I might have to use 4. Because this is not good, but you don't know when you buy them what the inside is going to be like. And now if I cut it into pieces, who knows what I'll find when I cut it. Maybe I'll find some more brown in the middle. Let's see what happens. No, so far that's okay. So now you just want to cut the potatoes into chunks to be put in the saucepan. I put water in my saucepan and now I'm going to put the chunks of potato in. As you can see, I have more brown marks in this potato, so I'm going to have to cut it out. And most likely, like I said, I'll have to take 1 or 2 more potatoes. By the time you cut the brown spots out, I won't have much potatoes left. The potatoes have been cut up and put in the saucepan, as you could see, with the water, and now it's ready to be put on the stove. I have the potatoes on the burner and I have it set to high because now I have to boil the potatoes till they get done about 25 minutes. So I'll be back. Now the potatoes are boiling, so I have to lower the heat from high heat to medium heat and cook the potatoes for 25 minutes. So now the potatoes are cooked and I have to drain the liquid off to use the liquid in the recipe. So we need 12 ounces of the potato liquid, or it equals 1.5 cups. So now I'm going to drain the liquid into my measuring cup. So that's even a little more than 12 ounces, so I'll spill some out. Now I have to put my 3/4 cup of milk into a saucepan. It has to come to a simmer. The milk is starting to simmer, so I'm going to take it off the burner. I'm using whole milk, so now you just put this aside and let it cool. Now it's time to mash the cooked potatoes. So now I'm going to mash them. So I ended up using 4 small potatoes since so many of them were brown. It usually calls for 2 large, but like I said, if you don't have 2 large, or if they're brown like I had the problem, you could use 2 more. The potatoes have been all mashed, and now I'm adding my sugar. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of sugar to the potatoes, and then I'm going to add my butter, which I have here softened. So now I want to mash the butter and the sugar together. Now I'm going to add my 1.5 cups of potato water to the mixture and mash it, incorporate it in with the potatoes. Now this is going to get very watery, but this is how this recipe is. And then I'm going to add now my milk, my 3/4 cup of milk that was simmered. And I'm using whole milk because 200 years ago they didn't have fat-free milk or almond milk. So I'm making it with the whole milk. Now I have to add the yeast to a 1/4 cup of water. So I'm tearing open the yeast and putting it in the water. I finished mixing up the yeast in the warm water because it has to be mixed in warm water, and now it has to sit for 5 minutes till it bubbles. As you can see, my yeast is all activated and ready to be used, but not at this moment, so I'm just going to set it aside. Now I'm putting the potato mixture into my mixing bowl. I have to add 4 cups of flour to the mixture here, to my potato mixture, and I'm adding 1 cup at a time. And then I'll stir it in. This takes a little while to make this recipe, but it's quite easy. It just has a few steps to it. And if you like potato rolls, you should like this recipe. Now I'm adding the 2nd cup of flour, and then I have to mix it well. Now this is the 3rd cup that's going to go in the mixing bowl. And I'll mix it good. So you could use whatever you'd like to mix it up with, but I'm using my wooden spoon because 200 years ago, that's probably all they had. They didn't have anything else to mix it with. So I'm trying to mix it the old-fashioned way. Now this is the 4th cup. Now you could feel the batter getting stiff as you're mixing it, and that's what you want. Now you could see how much even more the yeast has risen as it was sitting. So now we're going to put this into the mixture. Well, it sure smells like yeast. So now I have to mix this well. This will take a little bit of time, but you have to mix it very well. And mixing this well will sure give your arm a workout. So this will keep me in shape. Now the yeast has been incorporated. Now I have to put in a 1/2 cup of flour and then stir it afterwards. But you just have to see the consistency because you may not be using, the recipe calls for 6 to 7 cups, but we won't have to use the 6 to 7 cups. It probably will be less. Now I'm adding another 1/2 cup. gonna have to mix this in well. I'm adding the last of my flour from the bowl, and so this is the last half a cup that's going into the mixture. See, it's starting to come together nicely and be ready to be kneaded. I'm going to turn this onto the floured board so I could start kneading. Now I'm flouring my hands, and then I get a little flour on the top because, as you see, this dough is sticky. And by adding the flour, you'll make it easier to handle. Gets a little messy, but it's okay. I put some flour in a bowl so that I could sprinkle it on as I needed. You have to knead this till it's not sticky and it will come off your hands easy. So here's where you might use a lot more flour at this point as you're kneading it. As you can see, the dough is all ready. It's not sticking to the board. It's not sticking a lot to the board, or hardly at all. It's not sticking to my hands. So it's ready to be put in an oiled bowl. This has to be oiled. Now, I learned a lot about kneading the bread from my mother because she used to make homemade bread all the time. When she got older, I used to go over there to do the kneading for her because she wasn't capable of doing the kneading anymore, especially by hand. But that's the way she liked it. She liked it the old-fashioned way, by hand, not by a bread machine or anything. So as you can see, I just oiled the pan, and now I'm putting it in the dough, and then I have to turn it so all sides get the oil on it. And then it has to rise for 2 hours. And I have to cover it with a tea towel. The dough has risen now, and the next step I have to do is punch it down. Okay, and then I have to take it out of the bowl. So now I have it on as you see, now I'm flattening out the dough. Now what I'm doing is you just take some of this dough and pinch it with your hand, and then you want to roll it. I have some flour on my hands, and you roll it in a ball, and then you put it on the board, and then you flatten it. And now I'll put this, what's going to be the little roll, onto the cookie sheet, and I'm putting it on parchment paper. So I'm rolling it a little in the flour into a ball, and then I'm pressing it. But you can also roll it into the ball, into a ball, put it on the cookie sheet, and then you could flatten it. You could put it on the tray and then you could flatten it, but I'm just doing everything here like this. If you hear a noise now, I'm preheating the oven to 400 degrees, and then I'll be baking these for 25 minutes. The dough is in the oven, and I'll be baking them for 25 minutes, and then hopefully we'll have rolls when I take them out. This is a technique they might have used years ago when they didn't use a rolling pin or a glass to cut it out. So they would just pull it the dough, roll it in their hands, and then flatten it. So for Grandpa's birthday, these are handmade with love from Grandma. And it looks like, I think we made 25 of these rolls. So hopefully Grandpa will be happy with them because he loves anything bread. He loves bread, he loves rolls. So I think he's going to like this. The Martha Washington potato rolls have all been baked. This is my vintage bun warmer that was gifted to me in 1970. Now, as you can see, it has a fabric cover that is washable. Or this, you could take it off through the buttonhole here and put it on. You take it all off, and then you could wash this, which is a great feature. And it opens from both sides. And the bottom stays nice and warm, not too hot. It keeps all your rolls and bread at a great temperature. And then it has a plug, so you just plug it in the wall. I've used this many times when I've had dinner parties. When I made dinner rolls, I would put it in here. Or when I had an Italian dinner, I would put Italian bread slices. And this always kept the rolls and the bread warm throughout the whole dinner, and everybody was very happy. And I didn't have to worry about rolls being cold or bread being cold. So I just wanted to show you this. And now today I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to put the rolls, the Martha Washington rolls, in here so Grandpa can enjoy having them at a nice warm temperature with his breakfast. So it holds quite a lot of buns and sliced bread, which is great. This is one of my favorite pieces to use, and I still use it today. How did the rolls taste, Grandpa?
Let you know in a minute, Ma. As you can see, I like my rolls, half of it with butter and half of it with jelly. Very tasty. They have a nice crust to them, nice crispy crust, and it's very tasty. Especially with the jelly on this one, and I'm sure it's going to be tasty with the butter. These rolls remind me of Italian type of roll bread, that type of consistency. Really good. Thank you everyone for joining me for breakfast, and thank you Grandma for making me these wonderful rolls.
You're welcome, Grandpa.
These rolls are so tasty with the butter on it, Grandma. Very good.